Okay. Namaskar and welcome to day 4 of NareeShakti program. MVSakhyaचा NareeShakti. नवरात्रीचे 9 दिवस आम्ही हा एक कार्यक्रम नवीन आणतोय. त्याच्यातला आज day 4 we have invited Makarand Utpat. Makarandची ओळख, welcome Makarand first of all.
My pleasure.
Okay, and I'm going to do one more thing. Okay, so welcome to the program. I'm just going to ask everybody else to mute themselves. I can also do it, but तुम्ही आताच join होत असाल तर just kindly mute yourself. आणि just let me do one more thing. Okay.
You work at UCLA. What do you do there? In the administration of the College of Letters and Science at UCLA. Gotcha.
Okay, so welcome. Makarand आणि माझी ओळख झाली when I joined Marathi Vishwa BOD. I just knew you very briefly before that. तर मला तुझी ओळख BOD आणि जल्लोष तुमचं त्या दोन ह्याच्यातूनच तुझी ओळख आहे. म्हणजे तर तुला थोडीशी स्वतःची ओळख करून द्यायची असेल तर करून दे.
जरूर. Basically, thank you so much, Angha, Marathi Vishwa, Marathi Vishwa. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And my goal today, right, is to give as much value. So I would like to highly request participation. मी Angha तर मला क्वेश्चन विचारणारच आहे, पण त्याच्याशिवाय पण काही तुम्हाला क्वेश्चन्स वगैरे असतील तर जरूर feel free to ask us. So in terms of my oळख, right? So I came to this country about 25 years back or so on a student visa. And many of you can relate, right? In 1990 च्या आसपास त्याच्यानंतर big IT revolution started in America. Before that, for people like me, there was no option to come here, but to come here on a student visa. So I came here to do my studies, masters in computer science केलं मी. आणि मग the whole 9 years, right? Student visa, H1 visa, green card, citizenship. So went through all the trials and tribulations. Started working corporate ladder, right? So-called that
rat
journey.
Race. Yeah, rat race.
Rat race. And it becomes a rat race after a while, right? And we'll get into all those things. But basically, for people like you and me, right, immigrants, we don't have any other choice but to come here on either H1 visa or student visa, be at the mercy of the employers, right, to get our green card, right? And we go through a lot of आपल्याला भरपूर हमालीगिरी त्याच्यामध्ये करावी लागते, and I can relate to all of those things basically. आणि so I was fortunate enough to start my career with IBM as a programmer. And in today's talk, right, I want to also hit on one important theme about reinvention. And if you introspect, if you're like a professional business owner, right, I think that is one point that I would like to emphasize on. Like, we all go through some kind of reinvention in our life, you know.
Yeah, metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis. And unless and until you don't do that, you won't probably succeed. And I think that is something we'll talk about that as well. So I started as a programmer, and then pretty soon I hit the wall because I don't know how many people are there in terms of the IT, but in IT, as you can imagine, right, the programming language keep on changing. So in my case, it was C language, then it becomes C++, Smalltalk, right? After that, Python and Java and all those things, right? So it became sort of a vicious circle that once I got acquainted with one particular language, in 2 to 3 years, another new language came. The language that I was acquainted with was skillful enough,
right,
that became outdated, right? So then I decided to go into the management, basically, you know, just to avoid that, and of course to get a better experience, team oversight and everything. So IBM was my first corporation, and I'm really grateful, you know. I mean, I don't want to kind of badmouth in terms of the corporate experience. I think it's because of the corporate experience, it allowed me to start climbing the ladder and then there are of course pros and cons about the corporate ladder and whatnot, right? But long story short, I was into programming, went into the management, and then management nantar I got into the quote unquote executive, like a director and above. And I'm truly blessed. I'm truly grateful, to get those kind of opportunities to lead multinational teams, build up my profile, build up my personality, and learn from that, right? I think nobody is fallen from the sky, right? And then many a times you tend to learn on the job, right?
Right.
So that is how my experience got evolved from a programmer to a manager to senior manager to director and above, right? And I was fortunate enough to lead close to 45 million to $50 million worth of projects that had like a 60 plus country oversight, all the area, the directors, the senior directors, the corporate site heads,
Right.
they were reporting into me, right? I think I had, so it's not that I hadn't experienced that. So I feel really
So you
blessed and fortunate
experienced
enough
everything. Yeah. When
to experience that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I have no qualms about that. But then as I started, after accumulating this wealth of experience, right, I got into and I invented this term because I never have come across this term. In my book, I have invented this term called what is called identity hopping. And what happens, right? Anga, you can relate to it. Many other people who are like professionals, business owners, right? They can relate to it, right? Right now, right? If you take a look at the big picture view, the companies, right? They are going through a lot of mergers and acquisitions because there is stiff competition out there.
Everywhere.
It's like big fish eating the small fish, and then survival has become very crucial. As a result, a lot of companies are acquiring, they're merging and whatnot.
Correct.
And the side effect of that, right? Because what is happening, right? They all want to make sure that their stock price, the shareholders are happy at the end of the day, right? And as a result, the byproduct of that, right? People like you, me, our jobs do get affected as a part of the reorg, merger and acquisition, restructuring.
Yeah.
And that has become a norm. Like every 2 to 3 years, you will invariably find that there is something or other going on where companies are trying to create like a competitive edge, by the restructuring, or they are letting people go. So I started to hit that sort of wall, and it happened with me at least 2 or 3 times. Even though I had like a good credentials, good profile, good resume.
Right.
And I started thinking about, right, like, is that it basically? Ani, I think the epiphany, right, the wake-up call happened when my last job got affected. Basically, as a part of me, I held on well for 2 to 3 series of merger and acquisition, but then companies started, they wanted to grow and grow and grow, and then we used to be like $4 billion company. Then we acquired another company, we became like $15 company, and then our CEO, he wanted to really become like a big company, so he went after like a big company, $85 billion merger and acquisition. So Allergan, that was my last company that I worked with, and basically I held up well, but then one point came where there were a lot of redundancy, overlap of jobs, roles, and whatnot, right? And I will also say this, right? I was fortunate enough to get a good package and everything. So I used that as an opportunity, to kind of reset, rethink in terms of, is this it, right? Or do I need to really start doing something else that I have never done before in my life, right? Because in my first 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 types of acquisitions, merger and acquisition that I was part of, right? Sandeepa, my wife, right? It is education, it was going on. My kids were small, right? So I did not really get an opportunity to really think beyond my job world and whatnot, right? So there was this crucial time came where I had to rethink, is this identity hopping? Is that what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Yes.
I'm still young. And what if, right? If I fail, what the heck, right? At least I will not have regrets, right? When I become like 70, 80, 90-year-old, and when I look back, right, my older self should not curse back at me saying that, hey, Makarand, you had that opportunity when you were young, right?
Awesome.
Now the time is against you. You really cannot do anything else, right? And so don't blame yourself now. I think you are the only person you can blame yourself, nobody else, right? So that there was this small window that I decided to act on, and that is where I went through big metamorphosis, big transformation, right? And
So you decided to kind of look inside, right?
yes, yeah,
You decided to look inside, see what you wanted to do with the rest of your life. आणि मग
right.
तू डिजिटल मार्केटिंग म्हणजे तू पुस्तक लिहिणं आणि ह्या फील्ड मध्ये येणं, like from a technical background to this, like it's quite a jump. I mean,
It is, yeah,
seriously. But I think I came for your book publishing last year.
right,
It
right,
was
yeah,
widely successful. I mean, it's on Amazon. Amazon वरती आहे. It's one of the best sellers. How, I mean, हे सगळं करताना पण तुला खूप challenges आले असतील,
big
right?
time,
You
yeah.
must
So
have faced.
good
आणि
point.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, right? I want to really emphasize on that, right? Because many a times what happens, Anga and everybody else, right? We take life for granted, we think we create what is called comfort zone around us,
Right.
and we are quite happy with it because we are really good at doing certain things. And that's exactly what had happened with me whenever I stayed with certain jobs, right? Afterwards, you become acquainted with certain skill set, you become comfortable, you know everything, right? In terms of the office space, and then the employees, whom to contact to, whom not to contact to, right? And you create this so-called comfort zone that you are really comfortable with, right? But if you don't break that, if you don't shatter that, right, you become irrelevant. And that's exactly what had happened with me when my job got impacted, right? When I started looking around, right, I went through like I thought getting a new job will be like a
Like
cup
this.
of tea, right?
Right.
I had all throughout my life, I had relied on like 2 or 3 pages of resume, right? I had like thunder qualifications in terms of my experience, my profile, and whatnot, right? But as soon as my job got impacted, right? As soon as I was outside, right? None of the things that anymore matter in terms of my role, my title, my qualifications, how much contributions I was able to make to the company, right? So I was practically no one, right? And it is not that I couldn't have done consulting job or anything of that nature, but I did not get the job of my stature, my role, because I was at like certain level, right? And I did not want to necessarily come down 2 or 3 steps below, right?
Right.
So I had created like what I call like successful trap, right? On one side, I had everything going on for me, and then I don't want to now necessarily come down, in terms of my level and whatnot, right? And I talked about the package that I got, right? So I decided to do something about it, and then in the event of this looking inward, revamping myself, reinventing myself, I'll take one story, Anga, right? Before even I wrote this book, right? When I was in corporate, right, I used to be hooked on to Brian Tracy's audio cassettes, books, his videos, right? I had like all the things that you can think about, right? So I was really hooked on to that. And then when my back was against the wall, right, all of a sudden I got a call from one of the publisher that, hey, Brian Tracy is writing a book. Would you like to co-author book with him?
Wow. Okay.
And this is even before this book, right?
Okay. So who is Brian Tracy? Eka ह्याच्यात sentence.
Okay, so Brian Tracy is considered as one of the foremost thought leaders in the world right now. So there are a lot of other people like Tony Robbins, there is Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy is like up there, like top 10, one of the top 10 people. And I said, where should I sign in? I'm just going to say yes, right? Because this is another point that I would like to make. When you are thinking about certain things, right? Universe conspires and then starts to make things, certain things happen for you, right?
Right.
So it was that, or maybe I was really out there reinventing myself, and then all of a sudden I get call from this Brian Tracy, who is like the master or godfather of reinvention, right?
Right.
And so long story short, I ended up co-authoring a book with him
Wow.
that became a bestseller. It's called Ignite Your Life.
Mm-hmm.
And then that gave me huge dose of confidence that maybe I should take my
Yeah.
this small little step to a next level, right? Because I struggled a lot, in terms of, because what happened, right? As soon as I talked about like my back against the wall, with I'm not getting a job of my stature, my liking, and whatnot, right? And Google did not give a hoot, in terms of who I was in a company, my qualifications and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was practically no one to Google, right? Because, and I also realize nowadays, right?
Right.
Social media, internet has become, LinkedIn has become the go-to
Right. Yeah.
assets for
Right.
recruiters,
Yeah.
for you to look in terms of who you are. So
LinkedIn
even
especially.
LinkedIn and whatnot, right? And I did not have any kind of presence going on. And that is something we'll get into this in today's call, right? And I realized that I have become practically irrelevant. I am no one
In this.
in
Yeah.
LinkedIn size. I am no one in Google size, internet, right? So until I do anything, do something about it, I'm going to be completely irrelevant for the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? And that is when I started reinventing myself. I started creating a lot of blogs. I started creating a lot of uh, LinkedIn articles and whatnot, right? And that is how it paved the road for writing this book, because I also I came to realization that there are a lot of other people, business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, they are also struggling just like me. So I said, why I shouldn't become a medium, right? And then the others, I'll touch upon that, right? Many a times we think we don't have it in us. Who is going to read my book, or who is going to read my blog, or who is going to listen to my podcast, who is going to watch my video, right?
Right.
Many a times we try to downplay our abilities, we downplay our assets that we have. And I said, it is now or never. I'm going to at least make like a faithful attempt to jot down my struggles, my lessons learned, in terms of building my own brand out there on Google, internet, social media,
Right.
and let it be some kind of
Like a
gauge, or some guidance,
like a
some
guidebook.
tips.
Right.
That
Right.
is how this book was born in terms of this. So this book is called How to Kickstart Your Digital Marketing.
Marketing. Yeah.
I'm describing like a 5-step approach. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody who wants to start a journey from zero and they want to kind of go to the next level,
Okay.
what sort of 5 steps they need to take,
Mm-hmm.
to become quote unquote known out there.
Okay.
So
So
that is how
basically,
this book was born, basically.
okay. So basically, you're saying ki, if you Googled yourself previously, you would not find anything. And in order, if you're a small business, like if you're a dentist, you just opened a dentist office, or you're a doctor, you can be a caterer, bakery to me, Naveen Suru ke liye. Matlab there are so many things, right? And even for women professionals, even if you're a woman professional, I mean, you can write some kind of a white paper, some kind of a document on some kind of a site to get your name out there. And their relevancy वाढवायची है, in
Right.
a
Correct.
in a short way. So whenever there's a Google search about you, or in LinkedIn. So even in LinkedIn, there are a lot of opportunities where even if you're an IT professional and you write about a white paper or something, you can get it published there. तर आता जे digital, like परत आता like बायकांसाठी आणि new business owners or old business owners who have been in, how will they, how
Right.
can digital marketing, like this is the real question.
Great question.
Trends
Right.
काय आहेत आणि how can
Great.
digital marketing help?
Yeah, so I think many people here, and let me talk about it from that angle. And this is a great question, Anga, right?
I mean,
So
I
right
think
now,
Sandeepa also
yeah,
is a doctor, right? Like she has her
yes,
own
absolutely, yeah,
office. How
correct,
would,
correct,
what would you advise her if you want her
yeah,
to increase her patient base?
great, great. So great question, right? Before I answer that question, right, let me also quickly hit on a couple of big shifts that are
Okay.
happening right now, that is relevant to all the attendees and who will be watching our video later on. So we talked about internet, right? आपण सर्वांनी आपण समजा असा विचार केला राईट अंधा की आपले अंकल्स आपले आजी आजोबा राईट त्यांच्या काळामध्ये इंटरनेट वॉज कम्प्लिटली नॉन एक्झिस्टंट राईट internet is hardly 20-25 years old, but it has completely changed the ball game, right? When you equate that with social media, right, it has completely changed in terms of how we live, interact, and work with each other, right? And it is still in its infancy in terms of its potential and where it is going to go down the road. So that is one, right? Internet, social media is one thing. The second thing is basically I think you touched upon Google, right? Today, right, if you're a woman professional, business owner, entrepreneur, right, you will always invariably find that people will try to check you out first, before they even pick up the phone
Right.
or do business with you, right?
Right.
This is because Google has become the go-to search engine. It processes about 3.5 billion search queries per day.
Okay.
So the magnitude and the scale is amazing. And the second thing is that if you are not getting found on the first page of the Google, right? Because about 72% of the entire world's web traffic, if you are there, it is getting found on the first page, right? So if you're not getting on the first page of the Google, you might as well do not exist in terms of who you are, what do you do in terms of your business, your niche, right? So that is the second trend. So internet, Google. The third one is if you take a look at the entire landscape of the job market right now, right? There is a big appetite, there is a big appreciation for side hustle. So if you take a look at Fiverr, Upwork, Uber, Lyft, right? There are a lot of people, they want to make money on the side, right? आणि असं त्याच्यामध्ये असं काही कमतरता नाही किंवा कमकुवतपणा नाही की just because you're doing second job you are inferior or anything, nothing of that nature. It's just that people want the control of their own lives rather than working for someone else, right?
Right.
That trend started since 2008 when the financial crisis has happened. So right now 57 sadharan 1/3 of the entire US workforce is doing some kind of
Side
side hustle.
Wow.
And that trend is going to go on the rise in next 2 to 5 years basically. So that's the third trend. And basically so this is like I'm trying to set the stage, right? So let me just come back to answer your previous question, right? In terms of what women professionals and business entrepreneurs do, right? Let me also take another example, right? Just to put things into perspective. Basically, if you take a look at Jeff Bezos, right? Or Oprah Winfrey, or Tony Robbins, or Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook of Apple, or Sundar Pichai of Google, right? If you take a look at them, right, you will invariably find that they have tons and tons of following, right? And the reason being they have created like amazing type of value. They have given a lot of hope, whether it is creating better relationship, whether it is creating better IT services, whether it is creating better outcomes, convenience, right?
Right.
And we all adore them, right, in some way, shape, or form, right? But the thing is that, right, for the people on the audience today, right, you have your own audience, right? So if you are into professional industry, right, recruiter could be your audience, or it could be your peers. You could be another audience. Your customer stakeholders could be your another audience, right? If you are an entrepreneur, right, your customers become your another audience, right?
Right.
So the thing is that although we adore all these big personalities,
right,
we really cannot get piece of their pie, right? Because they are so hard to reach, right? So your audience, right, even though they may like them, right, these people are not going to come there to solve their problems, right? So that is where you as a women professional, business owner, entrepreneur,
Mhm.
you need to learn to take bull by the horns and start creating meaningful outcomes for your audience. Because the reason these people are successful is because they have delivered something that all of us adore, all of us like, right?
Okay.
So you need to become that transformational person in your own
Yourself.
way,
Okay.
So that
Okay.
is one thing that you need to think about. And then we will get into how part, right? And the second thing that you need to start thinking about, there is a famous saying, what is called, people like to do business that they know, like, and trust. So
Trust.
there is
Yeah.
no like trust model. I would highly encourage your audience to start thinking about it. If you want to do something as a
Right.
side hustle, if you want to start your own thing, or if you want to
Mhm.
kind of augment whatever you are doing right now, right? So
Okay.
no like trust model, what it is basically, people like to do business that they know, like, and trust. So knowing is all about starting to build your presence
Mhm.
on all these social media channels, right? So and right now, I will talk about maybe LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Instagram,
Right.
Facebook,
Mhm.
Twitter, maybe Quora, maybe some other sites, right? But these four channels, that is where the attention is, and attention by me, I mean that that is where your audience is
Yes.
hanging out, basically.
Right. Right.
So you need to consciously start building your presence on these channels. So that is one aspect, right? So no, and then basically, like is all about why would someone will relate to you, right? Why would someone
Mhm.
start to do business with you, right? So there is a like aspect and there is a trust aspect. So like is all about showing your humanizing aspect, right? In terms of your vulnerabilities, your authenticity, that is where you start to create some kind of connection, some kind of chemistry, right? And you need to start putting yourself out there, in a nice way, not like in a salesy way,
Right.
on all these channels, right? And then trust is all about becoming a true problem solver for your own audience, right?
Okay.
I talked about all these big high-fi personalities, right?
All right.
They have become problem solvers in a big way. You need to become your own problem solver in a small little way, whatever your audience is. And that is how people are going to start relate to you in terms of you as a person, you as a problem solver, and then they are seeing that you're creating a lot of content out there, whether it is your blogs, whether it is your podcast, whether it is your YouTube videos or whatnot,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So that is in a nutshell how you start creating, adding value
To-
out there, right? So that is one big layer, was basically you need to become transformational person, no like trust model.
Hmm.
We kind of distilled it down, right, little bit in terms of what you need to do, and we can get into the how aspect as well as a part of
Okay.
our next
Okay.
thing.
So basically, what you're trying to say is look inside you, look at what your qualifications are, what you're good at, what you can do, right? त्याच्यावरून त्याच्यानंतर, so whatever you have said, I feel like it is more of brand imaging. Like, you need to think about yourself as a Dove bar, किंवा ivory soap, so as
Correct.
if you are a person, you have to think, how can you market yourself? So are you ivory soap? Are you Irish spring soap or something? So you need to find out, exactly how you market a physical brand. You should be marketing yourself the same way, basically.
Correct, absolutely. And then if you're like an aspiring a business owner or a creative person, expert, author, coach, consultant,
Mhm.
whoever you might be, right? I think
Right.
all of us have certain assets
Mhm.
that uniquely
Each one of them.
differentiates us from other people, right? And that is what you need to introspect in terms of what are some of the things that you are good at, that you take for granted,
Right.
that you think that, yeah, I think who is gonna listen to me, or who is gonna like whatever I'm doing, right? Why would someone care about what I do, so you need to start inwardly, start thinking about what are some of the things that you are good at, what are some of the things that people come to you for second opinion, right? And that what are some of the things that you do in a heartbeat, right, without ever thinking. If someone asks you about certain thing, you become that go-to person. You have like a great command over that particular aspect or subject matter topic and whatnot, right? So those are all hints in terms of how you can then start to develop your niche, how you can start to develop your selling proposition, right? आणि काय होतं की basically marketing sells it has received a lot of bad rap out there, you know, because we know like the stories of salesman, right?
Right.
Like trying to sell you, whistle you out and whatnot, right? But if you do this know like trust model that I talked about, right? Because I want to really keep things simple for the audience here.
Okay.
And there is no like a rocket science when it comes to how you can become successful, you know.
Okay.
And let us get into one more level below, right? How can you do that, right? I think I talked about what you need to do, right? In terms of how you can start doing it, right? So the one thing that you can think about is I talked about Google narrative, right? In terms of people always look you up on.
No,
So
I
you
mean,
need to start.
millennials. I mean, all the millennials, they don't go to any restaurant without looking at Yelp, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
How
Yeah.
many stars is it? Kai food ahe. They want to look at pictures. I see my son. I mean, that's what he does.
Correct.
Apan kasa we'll drive down and we'll find a restaurant to go to. But in today's world, that's not it. It's Yelp.
Totally, absolutely. Yeah, so I think couple of assets that you can start to actively, consciously start to build is, I would say the first and foremost is having your personality-driven website, not just like a website that has like a fluffy brochure type of thing. You need to come across as something that delivers value. And today, what has happened, I talked about the attention span, right? If someone comes to your website, they're going to stick around on your website for about 5 to 6 seconds. That is it, you know. Within that thing, you need to deliver who you are, what do you do, who do you do it for, why do you do it, all those nice things, right? So there is this what is called caveman test, right? आपण सगळ्यांनी गायकोची आपण ती
ad बघितली आहे. Yes.
बघितली असेल, right?
Yes.
Caveman, right? So I think there is what is called that caveman test, like who you are, what do you do, why do you do it, right? If you can deliver that to that caveman in like 4 to 5 seconds, then yes, I think you have some kind of form. And because you are able to deliver something in 4 to 5 seconds, then they are going to stick around to get to know more about your website in terms of your resources, whatnot. So I think website is something I would highly recommend you to create. And doesn't matter if you're like an author or a coach or a consultant or a creative person, whoever you might be, right? You need to create a website. That is one asset that I would highly recommend you to do that. Second thing I would highly recommend, because all these people are professionals, right? LinkedIn is another active vehicle medium that I would highly ask you to become more active on LinkedIn. That is another thing. And the third one I would say is basically Facebook and Instagram, right? Facebook, I think, so there are two aspects, right? Google narrative, that is where your website is going to get found, right? Somebody who doesn't know you, right? But if you think about like when we get up in the morning, right, the first and foremost thing that we do is go to our Facebook, right? We don't go to Google, right, to look for someone else, right?
No.
The first and foremost thing that we do is like we check our Google Facebook feed, right?
Yeah.
So that is where you need to have some kind of presence going on in terms of whatever you do, right? So on Facebook, there are two types of posts that you can do. Typically, we try to post something. I went to restaurant. I went to restaurant with my friend. You know, hi, hello. I went to on a walking trail and whatnot. Like I took like a sunshine, sunset
picture. Yeah.
That is one type of post. The other type of posting is basically assuming that you want to build your audience, and you can start posting something about the value oriented thing. So if you are a painter, right, you can start putting painting tips. If you are like IT professional, right, you can start putting you are like a manager, right, under program manager, right? So if you are thinking about elevating your profile, right, in terms of you as a program manager, you know, you can start posting certain tips about program management. What are some of the traps and pitfalls. What is that you have learned? If you're a business owner, right? Let's say if you're a restaurant owner, right? You can start
Putting
talking about like basically 7 myths to bust when it comes to going to the restaurant, right? And why you should come to that particular restaurant and not other restaurant, right? So you can start. The point that I'm trying to make here is you need to start creating some kind of content. If you notice me, right, I think I have completely changed my aura, my persona in last year and a half. I don't know whether you have noticed that or
yes,
not,
yes.
right? Basically, so I'm posting a lot for the last year or so in terms of how you reinvent yourself, right? What sort of struggles that you need to that I have faced and how I have overcome those struggles, right?
Right.
I'm also talking about I'm getting a lot more personal, in terms of like the other day I posted something about my boss. He got involved in a car accident, right? And what did I learn from him in terms of my
Right. Yeah, you said that.
experience with him, right? So again, I think I'm not. I just felt like I should do that because that is allowing me to express myself, right? I was always shy about that, but I said, I am in this and I need to show other people how to do that. That was my subtle way of showing it to other people, right?
So basically the first thing was look inside you, find your brand. And then in order to reinforce that brand, develop a narrative around it, right?
Correct.
You need to reinforce it, keep telling people, this is who I am, this is who I am. Or if you are a business, this is what we are doing to get their attention, keep their attention, and kind of move on from there. Manjay. Even if
Correct,
you are an
correct.
artist, you are into paintings, you can certainly do that. Like don't only post painting pictures, but also post
Not only
something
painting
about
pictures,
it.
but then start talking about um, how we like what are some of the quirks that are out there, or what sort of different like extra stroke that you have used, that has allowed you to create that nice little effect, right?
Right.
Those are all the subtleties that your audience is looking for.
Looking
Yes, I think end product is good, right? I think we all adore that, we all like that, right?
Right.
But if I am like an aspiring painter, I would definitely like to know, how you can really go
Exactly.
about doing that, something like that, basically.
Okay, great. The Atta, it's 8:08, and I want to give people an opportunity to ask questions also. So we have like around 27 women. So
All
anybody,
right.
yes. कोणाला काय प्रश्न असेल तर विचारा, नाहीतर आम्ही मला अजून 1-2 प्रश्न विचारायचे होते मकरंदला. So I can go ahead and ask that. But anybody else wants to ask a question? So
I think
Azul,
no question is a foolish question. Let me just say that, so
right.
don't
Shy
have
about
any kind of inhibitions. Feel free to come and
come
ask
forward.
question.
Okay. आणि one you mentioned मी आता प्रश्न बघते माझे एक तो website you said definitely right like you need to have so is this only for business professionals or I mean it doesn't matter it म्हणजे business entrepreneurs or it can be anybody like me also I mean like people will be like why is she creating a website for herself.
No, so basically, see, there is you need to think about from the recruiter's perspective, right? You need to wear your customer's hat, right? And think
Okay.
about how they are going to discover you, right? In your case, Anga, right? Everybody has in your niche, everyone has a LinkedIn profile, right? That
Right.
is kind of given, right? But if you want to kind of take it to the next level, right, where you kind of create the sum total of different angas, right? You can capture that into one anga errand person on a website, right? LinkedIn may not give you that sort of flexibility, freedom, because LinkedIn is sort of professional medium. But in your personal life, right, you do so many things, right? You are an avid hiker, you are a great photographer, right? You are also part of non-profit, right? So all those
Things.
personas constitute what Anga Erande is. Anga Erande is not just the program manager, right? It is more sum total of all those things. So you can actually start to express yourself, in a website, because if you must have noticed, right? I'm talking about like quote unquote career professional, right? Nowadays, recruiters, hiring managers, they just do not want somebody who is good at doing 9 to 5 job. They always try to look for that X factor, right? What is that person is doing? Is he part of any kind of fundraisers? Does she or he have any kind of volunteering experience? So all those things you can kind of consider in the form of website. You can also create your own Facebook page, not just the website, right? You can start freely talk about, so for example, I'll take in your example, right? You do a lot of hiking, you do a lot of, I know Rajeshri is also there. There are a lot of other people who are into this outdoor things, right? So maybe you can start your own vlogs, right? That is another thing. It's just a subtle change that you have to do. You don't have to kind of think about like a big shift,
Right.
You are already going there, you are already taking a picture. Maybe you just do like a selfie video,
Right.
and you just talk about what you feel like at that particular point in time, right? People are not necessarily looking for like a hi-fi solutions, but just start to express yourself,
Okay. Right.
And if the more you start expressing yourself, the more you will become more comfortable. And if you are like a business owner, you start talking about what are some of the frequently asked questions that your customers come to you for,
Okay.
And then you start producing blogs for that. Maybe you can create a podcast for that. Maybe you can start creating small video snippets of that, right? And you start creating your capital, basically collateral out there on social media, LinkedIn. And that is how you kind of incrementally then start building your presence.
No, I understand what you're saying. आमच्याकडे पण आता this is the time when the promotion cycle is going through. October मध्ये, I'm supposed to write my performance review also by end of October. माझ्याकडे extra curricular activities कायम खूप असतात लिहायला म्हणजे, I did this. That is also, even our management had a discussion for women professionals also, to talk about promotion cycles and all, and they mentioned this very specifically की बायका आपल्या डेस्क वरून उठून जाणारच नाही कुठे. 9 ते म्हणजे 8 ते 5, 8 ते 6 सारखं काम करणार. लंचला पण जेवतच बसणार. They will not network around. So networking is a completely different field. That is like a completely whole new topic about whom you should be talking to and not. But even like कुठलेही तुमच्या, it can be any kind of a company. You should definitely be out socializing with people, and that is socializing in various mediums. Like आमच्याकडे we have lot of business resource group, Asia Pacific organization आहे, gay lesbian आहे, black professionals आहे, Hispanic Latino आहे. I go for everything. कुठे काय दिसलं चांगलं, I mean, you just go and sit for it. But not only sit for it, listen आणि परत तुमच्या डेस्कवर येऊन बसा ते पण नाही. त्यांनी ते पण म्हटलं, you need to participate in some way, give back. But then that is a good way to add content to your website also, that you did this. And that also goes to show for whoever is watching finally. I know Swarupa is here. Swarupa, do you have any question?
And before Swarupa asks a question, just to latch on to what you just said, right? Something just popped up into my mind. लहानपणी, right? If you think about us, right? I think आपण सगळे at some point in time आपण डायरी लिहायचो, right? की त्या दिवशी काय घडलं, right? आता ती पद्धत गेली, लोप पावत गेली, right? And I used to do that. आणि आता मला माहिती नाही माझी डायरी कुठे गेली, right? पण I can guarantee you that, right? Whoever is maintain that diary, right? If you look into that, right, we will forget about the world, right? We ourselves will feel की आपण कसे होतो, आपले experiences कसे होते, right? So that is the point that I want to make here, right? I talked about like the customer oriented aspect, right? You need to produce the content for the customer and whatnot. That is all legit and everything, right? But think about this, right? 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, right? Social media is not going to go anywhere, right? So even though you are not going to maintain a diary, right? If you maintain a blog or if you maintain your videos, right? They are going to reside there. So maybe that is a great way to kind of look, सिंहावलोकन आपण जे म्हणतो, right? मागे आपण वळून पाहतो 10-20 वर्षांनी, right? So social media has become that sort of live diary that we can look back, की काय घडलं होतं 10 वर्षापूर्वी आणि आपले thoughts कसे होते, आपले thoughts कसे evolve झाले.
Yeah.
That is another angle that I want to make.
No, no. But I was recently thinking, me Google चे apps बघत होते वेगवेगळे, and one of them is a blog spots. I was just thinking that I go for all these hikes. I should write about them because I forget मी कुठे गेले होते,
Correct,
किती,
correct.
how much elevation I gained and stuff like that. So that's a great thing.
Totally.
But Swarupa, any questions?
Yeah, actually, I have a couple of them, and they are unrelated. So, hi, Makarand.
Hello.
So my first question actually is, you talked about the blogs, right? So I am a registered yoga teacher also. I am a multi-passionate person. I
Congratulations.
wear different hats. I have been teaching yoga for last 20 years. So I had started a blog. I think it was about 8 years ago. And I did not give it my own name. Therefore, anytime I checked myself out on Google, I never saw that blog pop up in my name.
Okay.
Secondly, again, related to this, if I do start a website and the website does not have my name,
Okay.
if somebody searches me with my name, will that website pop up, or do we have to make any special efforts for that website to come up to the top?
Great question. Great question. Any other questions, Swarupa?
Yes, and again,
Yeah,
second
yeah.
question is completely related. You can and choose to answer it or not. I feel like we are all women here, and this is to do with gender, and which is that
Please.
I think men and women, we have a different relationship with money. When it comes to being an entrepreneur or a business owner, women have a little complicated relationship with asking for the money they deserve. I think many women can agree with me, or maybe not, or maybe I am an exception. So how do you tackle that problem, the financial part of being paid for what you deserve to be paid for?
Good question.
So these are my two questions, unrelated, but
No, good. Both of them are great questions. So let's go one by one, right? So I think coming back to your first question, right? You are a yoga teacher. You wear multiple hats. You had started a blog that you've been maintaining, right? But it is not on your name. Your website is also not on your name, right? So there are two schools of thoughts, basically, Swarupa. One is basically creating a website that goes after your name, and creating a website that is geared towards particular niche. So for example, you are a yoga teacher, so your website could be like basically yogaandwellnesscenter.com. I'm just making it up, right? So that's, both of them are legit. There is no right or wrong about it. The only so let's try to peel that layer of the onion, right? So basically, when you create a website that goes after your name, right? Many a times what happens, right? So maybe 7 years, I'm just making it up right now. So 7 years back, you had a lot of passion for yoga, you are a painter, but 7 years down the road, right? You probably lost interest in the painting, right? You want to do something else, right? Just hear me out, right? Yeah. So having a website that is geared to your name, right? That still, so whatever niche that you kind of go through in terms of your transformation, right? You as Swarupa Gadgiri remains the same, right? Doesn't matter. But 7 वर्षापूर्वी समजा तू पेंटर असशील, 7 वर्षानंतर तू योगामध्ये झाली असशील, तर what about although you are reinventing, people are probably not able to relate to you in terms of you as a painter, and you are kind of getting into the new niche, right? So having a website that is branded after your name, that has its own advantage, because then people know you, right? As Swarupa Gadgir, people have some connections, they have some chemistry that is established. So you can kind of take it, evolve yourself, whatever you way you want. Right. Having said that, that is not to say, like, even though you change your niche, you can still create blogs under that yogawellnesscenter.com under Swarupa, and then you can then post that blog or post that video on YouTube, right? Or on LinkedIn or on Facebook, right? So people know Swarupa has this yoga and wellness center business, so they are able to relate to that, right? So that is okay. That's completely okay. Basically, that doesn't do anything
Basically, your name is your
adverse.
brand.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Good. Good. Any particular furthermore question on that before I hit on to the
नाही
second
तिने
question?
मनीचा पण एक विचारलं. So the money,
Yeah, second
of
way. Yeah,
course,
correct.
it
Yeah,
will be.
right.
I mean, see, Swarupa, I can answer that question for you. Yes, if you're a man and if you're a woman, it does differ, right? I mean, that's the reason we are having the talk tomorrow, women and money, right? Because even though you are making money, 80% of women I know don't even know where the money is invested. Like some husbands are very good about sharing, some are not, right? And it's against आपलं, कसे वाढले त्याच्यावर पण असतं. पण it is, I feel money part, so I can talk and talk and talk about it. So, but I feel like, yeah, this is money for you, like a person who's as creative as you and who should promote herself vigorously. I feel, yes, you should invest that kind of a money into a you know a website. Look at it, there are so many hosting companies nowadays. I mean, मला दिवसातून 3 का 5 ईमेल येतात गुगल वरती की we'll host a website for you. I mean, these are like young mobile app developers. We can develop a mobile app for you. I don't know how it comes, but it is coming. But nowadays, like how Makarand said, nothing gets pushed. Even if you're at work, I have seen what a rat race it is. You have to practically be in some executive director's face or managing director's face every day. इथे तिथे चालत बसा, त्याच्याशी बोलत बसा, because they are त्यांचं आणि आमच्या कंपनीचं पण तेच म्हणणं आहे की you should be vocal. We do not want you sitting at your desk. तर तू असा विचार कर, तुला वेबसाईट नसेल तर you are basically sitting at home. Nobody knows you are painting, you have a yoga, you are doing yoga, you are writing all these political blogs and all. Nobody knows about it, right? So basically you just have to discover, like, and as he said, metamorphosis comes to all of us at each stage of our life. I feel women change so dramatically. Circumstances changes you, age changes you, finance changes you, your marital status changes you, right? So all these things at different point. Any other thing is, yeah, be very true to yourself. Like, don't think you're going to be like Kim Kardashian when you don't look like Kim Kardashian. So that's another thing. Be very honest with yourself. Look inside, see what you are. I mean, if you look at what those 4 people did, like, those 4 daughters did, that is also amazing. That is all total digital marketing, right? म्हणजे आता one of that younger daughter is on Forbes as the richest, young girl in the world, because it's all digital marketing. She opened up a whole cosmetic empire. It's just branding, how you branded yourself, how you put yourself in front of the world. So basically it's what are you looking for? Think about that. What exactly are you looking for? आणि मी मकरंदला हा प्रश्न पण एक पहिले विचारला होता आम्ही जेव्हा ह्या प्रोग्राम बद्दल बोलत होतो. मी म्हटलं ठीक आहे मकरंद, तू आता हे सगळं सांगतोय डिजिटल मार्केटिंग. So suppose, Swarupa, it is for you. Okay, we are thinking that you are selling your cups, mugs, and all those things. Tomorrow, suppose you opened up a website and it took off, right? It just became so popular. तुझ्याकडे तर 2000 मग्सची ऑर्डर आली एका दिवसात. So मी मकरंदला ते पण विचारलं होतं की what you should be prepared for, like when you are branding, what are the other pitfalls also, or how you should be ready for increase in customer base or increase in thing. So त्याच्याबद्दल मकरंद थोडंसं बोलशील का? Like, have you
Right.
seen?
Yeah. So let's talk about it, right? So I have a couple of thoughts popping up right now, right? So just to latch on to what you said in terms of the relationship of the money, right? In my experience, right, Swarupa, I think women are much better financial managers compared to their better halves. That is my personal opinion, because in general, women are more responsible, or maybe they're more conscious, they're more savvy. At least that's what I would like to think about when it comes to women managing the money and versus the husbands. So I think that's a great testament to women gender in general. I think that would be my thing. And you had also asked about how should we ask for more money, right? That was your another question, right? So basically, there are a couple of thoughts that go into that, Swarupa, right? One is you need to increase your belief level. That I think all of us go through that the vicious cycle of who is going to listen to me, or why should someone buy from me at that particular price, right? So we have certain relationship with the money where we tend to invariably think that if I only charge this much, then only people are going to buy from me, as opposed to if I raise my service value to like $1,000 more, right? That person may not buy from me, right? So the answer to that question is the value is in the eye of the beholder. So I think we try to say that we are all logical people, but many a times we make our decision based on emotions, right? And the only way you can, so marketing your services is all about psychology, right? And at the end of the day, if you are able to convey to your buyer or your customer that he or she is getting immense value, doesn't matter, it's the same product that you are trying to sell, right? But if he or she feels that that product is worth $5,000, even though you're selling it for $1,000, he or she is going to buy in a heartbeat. So that is the funda, that when you are trying to sell someone, you need to make sure that it has all right sort of connotations, right sorts of angles, right sorts of things that you are filling the holes in terms of the customer's pain points, frustration, challenges, desires, right? You need to spit it out, right? It is just not that many a times business owners, they make mistake in terms of, they say that uh, I have written a great book, taking this book, right? I may say that uh, I have completely reinvented myself, or this is like a #1 bestseller on Amazon, right? So I'm trying to describe the features of the book, right? But if you are my customer, right, you will say, why do I care? Yeah, maybe Makarand has reinvented himself, good for him, right? Maybe he is a best-selling author, good for him. But what does that book does for me, right? How does it solve my own problems, right? So if I, rather than promoting myself as a best-selling author or my reinvention, if I talk about how it is able to solve your problems, right, then I will have more easier time in selling my book rather than me touting my own bandwagon, right? So that is what goes under the umbrella in terms of why would someone buy from you, and then you can then start commanding your price. The other part of that is basically you need to start building your value in an incremental basis, and that comes from the reviews, the testimonials. The more you start exhibiting that, right? So for example, if you have any customers, or if you have some good happy buyers, right, start taking some kind of customer. So if you're a painter, right, if you have sold certain paintings, if someone has really liked it, or if you're a yoga teacher, as a part of your yoga exercises, right, they have gone through some kind of transformation from point A to point B, right? Try to get that kind of testimonial from them. So this third party proof, right, allows you to sell yourself indirectly in a nicer way, so that is another thing, right? And the other point that I would like to talk about is in terms of, in general, like the women professionals, the business owners, right? Like they are right now at your disposal. There are multiple avenues available to you, right? Blogs, podcast, images, right? Videos, right? You start with whatever you are good at, whatever you feel you are good at. So if right now the trend or tomorrow's trend is video is where the attention is going on. But if you are not good at video, if you're still good writer, start writing, because that is where you shine yourself out in a nicer way, right? Or if you are good on, your voice is good on camera, right, you start creating some kind of podcast, right? And then that is how you start building yourself out there. So just because the video is good, don't get onto that bandwagon unless until you are comfortable with that. That's another point, right? And then coming back to Anga's question, right, in terms of the traps and the pitfalls, right? See, one thing that I would say is that when you start putting yourself out there, it is not always comfortable, right? And I myself, I experience that all the time. Whenever I'm posting a video or whenever I'm posting my certain post, right? I feel still, maybe I feel like I'm trying to just मी माझी स्वतःची बँडवॅगन आता मी आता गेले आठवडाभर मी माझे पुस्तकाचे व्हिडिओ पुस्तक बेस्ट सेलरची पुस्तकाचे मी पोस्ट टाकलेले आहेत, माझे म्युझिकचे मी व्हिडिओ टाकलेले आहेत की I can play this instrument, that instrument, right? But in a way I'm trying to build myself out there in terms of creating top of the mind awareness. So just the way you wear different hats, right? I also wear different hats, right? So I play tasha. I have co-founded Jallosh Dhol Tasha, right? I have also, I'm a musician, right? I play different types of instruments, right? So I cater to different type of audience. I am also like a business owner, right? So I create blogs and videos of that, right? So many a times when I'm putting myself out there, I don't feel comfortable, but I still do it anyway, right? So that is another thing that you need to learn to get more comfortable with. The other thing I would like to hit upon for all of us, right, who are on social media is, right, today social media has become basically kind of ego boosting game, and I'm saying it in a nice way, right? And I don't mean to offend anyone, I don't mean to disrespect anyone, but because it has become all psychological warfare in many ways, right? Invariably we tend to get into this type of comparison, right? When I'm posting something, maybe I just got like 5 likes, but when somebody else is posting, they are getting 50 likes, right? So does it mean I'm not well liked out there, right? Just think about what is happening. We are trying to equate the likes with our own personality. There's nothing has changed in terms of who you are, what do you do. You are still the same person, right? Just because you are getting less number of likes or high number of likes, that doesn't have any kind of reflection on you as a person. So that is another trap that many business owners tend to get into, and that is the reason they stop posting out there. I think at the end of the day, I think the name of the game is consistency. You need to remain consistent in a nicer way, in an authentic way, in a vulnerable way, in a genuine way. As long as you are feeling satisfied in terms of the value that you are trying to add to your own audience, I think you should keep on doing that. And the more you start doing that, because if you take a look at the great YouTubers today, right? If you take a look at great bloggers today, right? You will get so fascinated with their stories that they started just like us, right? When they started posting the videos, when they started creating blogs, they hardly used to get like 10 views, 5 views, right? But the more they stayed on consistent, the more they started garnering the attention, the more they started getting more customers, more audience, more views, right? So just because you are getting less number of likes, don't stop whatever you are doing. Just keep it consistent. Have a disciplined strategy in terms of what type of content you want to put out there, because content becomes like a lifeblood in terms of whatever business you might be in, whatever career professional you might be in, and you just need to be more strategic about that. So I hope I answered your question, Sarupa, right? I think I touched upon many other aspects, the finances, money, content, how you raise yourself, how you upgrade yourself, the traps and pitfalls. Anga's question. I hope it.
Yep. Yeah. So I think it's 8:34. So we have been on for about an hour, and I just want.
Anybody else has any other questions?
Yeah. Anybody else has any other question before we call it a day? No. But very interesting talking with you, Makarand. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new.
Thank you.
And blogs of me पण बघतच होते. Just generally, I like to write, and I just thought maybe I should just start putting my thoughts in, because I never get time to write in a diary specifically.
The other thing I would say, I think before we close, right, is basically if you're really serious about, right, doing whatever I talked about in terms of creating your own personal brand out there, whatnot, right? Take a quick introspection in terms of the last year, in terms of good, bad, ugly, right? What are some of the good things that you did, right? That you can, and come up with like 3 examples, right? Like these are the 3 good things that I was able to do, right? Maybe come up with the bad things, right? These are some of the things that I really wanted to do, but maybe I was like 50% complete about that. I did not achieve my goals 100%, right? And ugly is something basically you are completely fallen yourself on the flat on the face, right? You did not do anything, right? So that is how you can maybe try to charter your next 3 months, next 6 months goals in terms of come up with what is that you want to do, right? In terms of creating your personal brand or a website or social media presence, right? And guys, anybody here, right? If you want to reach out to me about this, feel free to revert back later on. It doesn't have to be here. I'll be happy to guide you in the right manner in terms of like coming up with some kind of direction for you. And I'm not going to charge you anything because we are part of the bigger family here, right? So that is my open offer here. And if you are really serious about it, I really want you to succeed about that, right? So good, bad, ugly, think about that. Also think about what kind of income, impact, influence type of goals that you would like to achieve, like in the next year, right? If you have come up with some kind of targets, right? What kind of income you want to achieve in terms of impact, right? What kind of impact you want to generate within your own sphere of influence. Maybe you can start with your own family. You don't have to really think about like a bigger layer. And influence is basically how do you want to be known? What do you want to be known? Who do you want to be known to, right? Those are all subtle things that are going to shape up. Many a times what happens, we get so engrossed, in our 9 to 5, 9 to 9 thing, that we tend to forget to introspect in terms of what is that we are trying to do, why we are doing what we are doing,
Where are we going?
how do you want to really. So I think that could be a great exercise for all of you, all of us. I'm actually going through that as we speak right now. So that would be my ending tip, as we move forward.
Thank you, Makarand. This was very helpful. Some of these questions I wanted to ask you, and I got them answered today. So thank you very much. And definitely we are going to be calling you again. We'll have a more targeted topic to talk about next time. But I just want to thank everybody. Navratricha ह्या program साठी तुम्ही सगळे आला. Thank you very much. And I hope most of you will get back to Makarand with your question, or you will tell him a success story in the next 6 months at least.
Also, if you get a chance, buy my book. Absolutely.
Yes.
Happy to. That will go a long way for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anga.